boy's Christmas wish tonight. We'll talk with little Michael Carlo and his mom, Sabella, a little later in the program. All right. If it were not for Texas, our nation would be sunk. During economic downturns, including during this pandemic, Texas keeps us afloat. Over 100,000 Texans serve in the United States military. The can-do spirit of this wonderful state that I call home is infectious. We are problem solvers here, and it comes to the election of Donald J. Trump. Texas is now leading a late charge on that front, too.
Let's see if they have the courage to do what everybody in this country knows is right. I received almost 75 million votes, the highest number of votes in the history of our country for a sitting president, 12 million more than the 63 million we received 4 years ago. If somebody has the courage, I know who the next administration will be.
You better believe it. But are there legislative leaders out there with courage? There better be. 75 million votes for a sitting president is unprecedented. How is Joe Biden's mysterious midnight spike to take the lead not an immediate concern? I'll tell you why. Because the media buries it, and as the president said, there's a lot of people out there with no courage. Texas knows the whole thing is fishy. The state filed suit against Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin late Monday night. And today, as I mentioned earlier, Louisiana, Florida, and 6 other states joined Texas. The state attorneys general are taking the case directly to the Supreme Court now, which means Texas, the state hated by liberals, despised by Biden cronies, and laughed at, really, by Pelosi and Schumer, just may be the state that saves the republic. The case is simple on its face, but often those are the best kind of cases, and its claim cannot be disputed. The suit's nearly 100 pages long, but it basically just says this, that the states in question, these key swing states, made changes to voting rules and procedures, not by changing voting law as is required by the Constitution, but the changes were made through the courts, or even worse, through executive actions. The other argument Texas spells out is that there were differences in voting rules and procedures in different counties within the states. One county had one set of rules, another county had a different set of rules, meaning voters were treated differently. That's a no-no. Here is one section of the suit, word for word. Quote, certain officials in the defendant states presented the pandemic as the justification for ignoring state laws regarding absentee and mail-in voting. The defendant states flooded their citizenry with tens of millions of ballot applications and ballots in a derogation of statutory controls as to how they are lawfully received, evaluated, and continued. Whether well-intentioned or not, these unconstitutional acts had the same uniform effect. They made the 2020 election less secure in the defendant states. It is absolutely true. Through the prolific use of mail-in ballots, we saw voting irregularities on a scale never seen before. Dead people voting, out-of-state voters, unregistered voters, illegal alien voters, even underage voters. Just like President Trump said, people need to have the courage to stand up for election integrity. Louisiana is joining Texas in this now. So are the other states. And instead of just filing suit and seeing what a court does, Texas and the other states are asking for a specific remedy for the court to order the states to allow their legislatures to appoint their electors. And yes, as you probably heard by now, in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the states being sued, Republicans control the state legislatures. So if this works, we can all say, God bless Texas. All right, as Texas reminded us today, this election is far from over, and Trump's legal team is working hard to ensure our constitutional rights as American voters are secure. For an update on the process, I want to welcome a member of President Trump's legal team and the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekula. Jordan, great to have you on the program. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Sure. Thank
you. So, Jordan, we've got the Pennsylvania case basically thrown out, but Texas, and then just a snowballing effect of states
Right.
joining Texas. That's got to hold weight with the Supreme Court, correct?
Well, I can already report now the Supreme Court has put on the docket that the parties, so there's 4 states named here, Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. When you look at the states that were named, they have to now respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. to this bill of complaint. And they have to respond to very specific items. So the Supreme Court is not just considering what Texas filed today. They are now going the next step, which is saying we want a response from the states named. We want a response from Pennsylvania, from Wisconsin, from Georgia. So again, I think it's very clear that, and this is the case we've been talking about to reach SCOTUS. This is the outcome determinative case. 62 electoral college votes at stake, enough to change the outcome of the election. If, as you pointed out, Grant, in the relief, there's kind of 2 reliefs sought. One is these legislatures, which are all controlled by Republicans, can seat new electors because the elections were violated. The electors clause is count 1, due process and equal protection in the Constitution. And because of that, they can seat new electors. If they have a problem doing that, it then goes to Congress by state delegation. And in the House, Republicans control that by 27 to 22. So it'd be Republicans choosing the next president if it had to go to the House of Representatives. This is major, though, because, Grant, the court didn't just take this and issue an order denying it or something like that, or maybe coming up with opinions later on tomorrow. They are requiring these 4 states to actively respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time to the allegations in this bill of complaint. And that's different than most court cases at the Supreme Court, because this is a case of original jurisdiction where the court has that original jurisdiction in the Constitution because it is state versus state.
All right, so can the court literally say this election is invalid and you need to find another way to appoint electors? I mean, is that the bottom line here? Is that what the court would end up saying if they rule in favor of the president?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the court could absolutely. I mean, listen, they've got if the equal protection, if due process was violated, if the electors clause in the Constitution, these are all constitutional challenges that Texas is bringing. If those were violated, it affects everyone. In this current case, would be everyone in Texas. And now we're seeing, as you pointed out, all these other state AGs start adding on. And if it impacts my vote in a different state, then my equal protection rights were violated because of the irregularities, the wrongdoing, not following, I think, especially the electors clause, which says specifically state legislatures make the rules and change the rules. That's what the Constitution says, not courts. So even though Pennsylvania, they didn't get the injunctive relief today in Congressman Kelly's case, this gives the court an opportunity to look at it on the merits, and they're going to be getting briefing on this. So now Pennsylvania is going to have to respond and say, why on earth was it okay for a court to do this when your state law and the U.S. Constitution says that you can only do this with the state legislatures? And the state law actually has even more conditions.
All right, so Jordan, 2 things here. One, I worry about the time aspect of this, so I'd like to get your response to that. And the other is just flat out, everybody knows I'm a big pro-Trump guy, all right? Everybody knows, they know where I want this to go. But it looks to me like it's an open and shut case when I look at judges deciding you can extend the mail-in ballots, when you look at election judges in counties saying, well, you can let this people cure ballots and these people can't cure ballots. This is open and shut constitutional violations. What am I missing here that this is going this far without a judge stepping in?
You're missing a lot of the politics of this, and ultimately what came about with all those lawsuits, even the ones that weren't successful, is the gathering of all this information that then Texas and their Attorney General, Ken Paxton, was able to put together in this brief. So whether or not the lawsuits were successful in a state like Michigan or Pennsylvania or Georgia, or Wisconsin, the 4 states named here, you got all this information, and it's specifically going at the heart of constitutional challenges. Now, are we up against a wall with time? Of course we are. But the Supreme Court has already noted right now they're not worried about this today being this day that electors are selected.
Right.
They're pushing this to the 10th for the response. It's the 14th when the Electoral College votes. But as we pointed out, as Justice Ginsburg has pointed out, the real key is January 6th when Congress certifies the vote. So there is time, because this is right at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court cannot just send this back down to the appellate courts. I think for the Newsmax audience, they need to understand this is the be-all, end-all case to determine really the outcome of this election. This is the major challenge, the one we were waiting for. It has enough electoral votes at stake to change the outcome. It is outcome determinative, and the court is deciding that they want more briefing,
Jordan.
And that is great news, Grant,
Jordan.
that the other side has to respond.
Well, it's no coincidence that we led off the top of this show with this case, and of course having you, Jordan, on the program to lay it out for us. Literally a brilliant legal mind, buddy. I appreciate you coming on the program. Good luck to the team.
Absolutely.
And keep us posted, all right? We will certainly
Will
keep
do,
watching.
Grant. Thank you.